Socrates belongs to the lowest strata of society. He was a commoner. It is known, and one might even see, how unattractive he was. Yet ugliness, in itself, among the Greeks, was almost an objection, a refutation. Was Socrates, after all, Greek? Amid his extensive body of work, Friedrich Nietzsche emerged as a relentless critic of the philosophical conventions of his time. Among his targets was the revered ancient Greek philosopher Socrates. In this video, we'll dive into the tumultuous relationship between Socrates and Nietzsche, exploring not just their differences, but also the mysteries and paradoxes that bind these two icons of human thought. The question arises, why did Nietzsche direct so much of his critique at Socrates? What was it about the Socratic approach that so challenged Nietzsche? Could it be Nietzsche was envious because Socrates had a beautiful beard, while he only had a mustache? Today, I'll try to find out. Imagine a man walking through the streets of Athens, barefoot, with an unkempt beard, throwing challenging questions at anyone who crossed his path. That was Socrates, not exactly the Hollywood heartthrob of his time, but definitely one of the most influential thinkers in history. Contrary to what his appearance might suggest, Socrates was a master of dialectics, a method that used questions upon questions to lead people to discover truths for themselves. He believed that I know nothing, and this intellectual humility became the foundation of Western philosophy. Socrates left nothing in writing. All that we know about him comes from his students, like Plato, and some not-so-fan fans, like Aristophanes. However, his ability to irritate the right or wrong people with his questions led to his death sentence for corrupting the youth and disrespecting the city's gods. Irony? Perhaps. But his critical approach to knowledge, ethics, and society not only challenged the status quo, but also paved the way for all Western philosophy. Socrates was a man who lived his questions, and while his insistence on questioning everything may not have won him many friends in the Athenian government, he gained something much more enduring, a philosophical legacy that challenges and inspires to this day. The true beauty of Socrates, contrary to the Greek standards of the time, lay in his tireless pursuit of wisdom, showing us that true reflection begins when we recognize how much we still have to learn. And it was this stance, this constant challenge to conventions and satisfaction with superficial knowledge, that would eventually put Socrates on a collision course with another giant of thought centuries later. Then we enter the 19th century, a period filled with changes, industrial revolutions, and many stylish mustaches. Here we find Friedrich Nietzsche. It wasn't just his mustache that stood out. His ideas on morality, culture, and life were as provocative as his appearance. Nietzsche saw Socrates in a quite different light than most. To him, Socrates was like that classmate who always raises their hand, confident they have all the answers when, in reality, they might not even understand the question. Socrates, with his insistence on reason and dialogue, represented to Nietzsche the beginning of the end. The moment when Western culture began to value abstract logic over the tangible, vibrant, and often illogical experience of life. Nothing against beards, but let's be serious, Nietzsche might have said, if he had a YouTube channel. He criticized the Socratic approach of placing reason above all, arguing that it distanced us from our most fundamental passions and instincts, those raw forces that make us truly alive. For Nietzsche, life was not a puzzle to be solved through logic, but an art piece to be intensely lived, with all the emotional color spectrum that implies. So, what was Nietzsche's big problem with Socrates? Simple. He thought Socrates had turned philosophy into a grand head exercise, forgetting about the heart and, most importantly, the body. In an ideal world for Nietzsche, we would dance and sing on the mountains, celebrating life, instead of sitting in a room debating what virtue is. Despite their differences, perhaps we could find Socrates and Nietzsche sharing a glass of wine, or perhaps a good German beer, in some corner of the philosophical pantheon. Although Nietzsche was a harsh critic of the Socratic approach, both shared a deep desire to unravel the truths of human existence. They just chose different paths for their exploration. Socrates, with his dialectics, sought truth through questioning and logic, believing in the human capacity for reason to achieve a deep understanding of virtue and the good. Nietzsche, on the other hand, feared that this emphasis on reason would distance us from the visceral experiences that make life worth living. For him, it was in art, music, and the unrestrained expression of instincts that we found the true meaning of existence. Interestingly, the debate between these philosophical giants echoes in many contemporary issues. How do we balance reason and emotion in a world saturated with information but starved for meaning? How does the relentless pursuit of rational knowledge affect our ability to live fully and appreciate the moments? Nietzsche and Socrates, each in their way, urge us to look within ourselves and at the world around us with a critical eye, but also with wonder. They remind us to question not just the conventions and the status quo, but also our own beliefs and motivations. Did Nietzsche really hate Socrates? I wonder. Nietzsche, on a rainy day, contemplating a bust of Socrates and thinking, "I admire this guy, but man, how he irritates me." Nietzsche wasn't the type to hate just for the sake of hating. What I think is that he actually had deep admiration for Socrates, despite all those acidic critiques. You see, to criticize someone is not the opposite of loving. For Nietzsche, it was more like a sign of respect. To love deeply is to criticize harshly, he might have said while adjusting his iconic mustache. Why? Because we only bother to criticize, to really dive into someone's ideas, when we see something of value there. Nietzsche, with his provocative style, argued that blindly idolizing someone is almost a crime. For him, true strength lies in challenging and questioning the idols we build. And Socrates, with his tireless dialectics and his relentless approach to questioning everything and everyone, including himself, was an idol worthy of such attention. So what Nietzsche is really doing with all this critique of Socrates, again, in my opinion, it's not to knock him off a pedestal, but in a way, to build a new, more solid one that supports not just admiration but also deep questioning. This dance between critique and admiration leads us to reflect on how we deal with our own idols and ideas. Nietzsche invites us to look beyond the surface, to question not just others' ideas but also our own, especially those we hold closest to our hearts. A Greek philosopher, famous for his ugliness and wisdom, and a German thinker, known for his iconic mustache and fierce critiques, might seem at first glance irreconcilable antagonists. However, as we delve deeper, we discover that both share a commitment to truth, each seeking it in their own way. The quest for knowledge and meaning can take us down different paths, and that's okay. Socrates taught us the value of constant questioning, never to be satisfied with easy answers. Nietzsche, in turn, reminded us of the importance of embracing life, with all its complexities, passions, and yes, even its contradictions. And why does this matter today? In a world where information is abundant but wisdom is scarce, the lessons of Socrates and Nietzsche have never been more relevant. They encourage us to look beyond surfaces, to question the status quo, and to find our own path amid the chaos of modern existence. They teach us to value both reason and emotion, recognizing that both are essential for a fulfilling life. Perhaps, if Nietzsche and Socrates had the chance to meet, they might have found common ground, perhaps in a discussion on the importance of authenticity, or even on how to maintain a good mustache or beard. If this video sparked any questions, if you found any insights or simply enjoyed the journey, don't forget to leave a like, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into the world of philosophy. If you've made it this far, it means that this journey through the world of philosophy has awakened something in you. Turn that spark into a flame. Explore Essence of Wisdom, the definitive guide that simplifies the history of philosophy, making it accessible, engaging, and deeply relevant and applicable to your life. The link is pinned in the comments below. Thank you for staying until the end and follow the White Rabbit.